Today also we are testing this topic. आओ जी. अच्छा, तो आज उधर को बैठे हो आप? उधर को बैठे आप? अच्छा, नहीं, doesn't matter. Can somebody give me the act? We will do search and seizure and also keep touching the scrutiny and show cause notices in between. Let's go to section 2 first. Section 2, subsection 2 and subsection 3. Address of delivery. Yesterday we did that EV judgment. In that judgment, this issue was discussed. The address of delivery comes by default. It's in the computer. Means the address of the recipient of goods or services or both indicated in tax invoice issued by registered dealer for delivery of such goods or services or both. So whenever you get a scrutiny notice and you find your tax invoices have been questioned on this ground, then you should go back to the certificate of registration. What address did you apply it for? That is your principal place of business. All your tax invoices from suppliers should be addressed to that address. If you give some other address which is not there, you will have problems. Because this is a requirement of law. And this, when you read with section 31, you will have problems tomorrow when the cases are taken up in scrutiny. Then subsection 3, address on record, means the address of the recipient as available in the records of the supplier, not GST department. So whenever you issue a purchase order and tell them that you dispatch goods, you have to give address as a recipient. Which address? Which is as per subsection 2. So that you don't goof up. आपने को टेम्परेरी गोडाउन लिया, उसने माल वहां भेज दिया, एड्रेस उसका है. वो जब रास्ते में आपका पकड़ेंगे, वो आपका एनफोर्समेंट वाले बोलेंगे जो एड्रेस ही नहीं आपका, जीएसटी नंबर पे एड्रेस है ही नहीं. They'll hold your truck. And then you start visiting that place and paying taxes and going in appeals. So these two fundamentals you have to keep in mind in section 2. Conveyance includes a vessel, an aircraft, and a vehicle. Now, the three words are used: vessel, aircraft, and a vehicle. It's an inclusive definition. Yesterday I was joking, even Balgadi will be a vehicle. Now, if you apply the rule of existum generis, any other thing must conform to these three words. Right? Aircraft we know, vessel we know, and a vehicle. Normal tendencies, vehicle is motorized, kickstart, petrol, diesel. But in our kind of countries, there can be other vehicles. So it is not possible to rule out that a rickshaw or a Balgadi is not a vehicle. It is or it is not, we don't know. But it's not possible to rule out. If that were so, all number 2 fellows will start sending on Balgadis. This is not a vehicle. I'm saying only for our country. If you go to Europe, in the European VAT, these vehicles are defined. But since we have an inclusive definition, so we have a problem. So even if you are sending goods to a होते हैं ना रिक्शा, उनके नीचे स्कूटर का इंजन लगा होता है, वो भी व्हीकल है, वो तो मोटराइज है ही है. So जो भी है, जब भी आप आपका क्लाइंट आपका सामान आपके दुकान से भेजे, उसको डॉक्यूमेंट सारे आपको देने हैं. अच्छा भाई, क्यों लिखा है कि? No, I'm not talking EV bill. EV bill की तो बात ही नहीं कर रहा. EV bill for motorized vehicles. I'm talking in general. In general. I'm not talking rule 138. EV bill I don't know much about. Goods. Section 2, subsection 52. Goods means every kind of movable property other than money. Other than money. Now this is very important. We will do the definition when we do 67.2. Other than money, but includes actionable claim, growing crops, etc., etc. So remember, goods includes money. Goods. Definition is of goods, not for anything else. So keep in mind. Money. It's a search and seizure. These are very important terms. 2 subsection 75. Money means the Indian legal tender or any foreign currency. So when you have currency notes, which is cash, this is in the term of money. That's a legal tender in India, currency notes. So this is money. Now, if you see the goods, goods means other than money. So they have not taken money as goods. That is why there is a separate definition of money. Right? Okay. Person we have read many times. The principal place of business. 89. Means the place of business specified as the principal place of business in the certificate of registration. So that is the principal place of business. अगर आपके 10 गोडाउन है, आपको 10 के 10 गोडाउन रजिस्टर करवाने होंगे. That in that case, when you place purchase orders, you'll have to say bill it to principal place of business, the godown. Your order should be clear. If you do not write principal of business, then it is not a part of your registration certificate. That's the additional place of business. Again, you will have a lot of chaos coming up. You'll be able to win it, no problem, but a lot of harassment will happen to you. It's not bill to ship to. It's all invoices. क्या आप बिल यहां भेजेंगे, गुड्स वहां डिस्पैच करेंगे, हमारा वहां पे उसका भी जीएसटी नंबर सेम है और दोनों में आपको जीएसटी नंबर लिखना है, गोडाउन वाले एड्रेस पे भी और इस वाले एड्रेस पे भी. But before you write GST number on a godown address, ensure that godown is duly registered, not amendment applied for. ये हम लोग बहुत हमारे अमेंडमेंट अप्लाई कर दी थी और तुम्हारे बाप के नौकर बैठे हैं, हमारी अमेंडमेंट कर देंगे. Till it's amended, don't start using that address. It's your job. The law says you have to inform them within 30 days or whatever the time. I'm just saying 30 days. It's your job to ensure amendment is effected. For example, you want to buy liquor against C-form. Liquor apply कर दिया जी, हमने C-form भी ले लिया. Tomorrow they don't allow, what will happen? Your purchase is illegal. You cannot use C-forms. Therefore, all amendments which you put in the system, you should be follow and ensure this is done. वो नाम की गलती हो, एड्रेस की गलती हो, फर्म की जो भी आपकी गलतियां बोलती हैं जो ठीक कराते हैं, follow it up and get it done. Otherwise tomorrow your client will suffer. कोर्ट पूछेगा आप 2 महीने क्या कर रहे थे जी? सब हमने तो अप्लाई कर दिया, उन्होंने की नहीं. You might get, you go to portal, there are notices to you. You have not checked the portal. So ensure this is done. Supplier 105. Supplier in relation to any goods or services both shall mean the person supplying the said goods, services or both, and shall include an agent acting as such on behalf of such supplier in relation to goods and so. So supplier also includes agent. For example, you place an order for specialized lubricants on BPCL, head office Bombay. They say our agent XYZ company Delhi will supply you. Who's the supplier? BPCL, not the agent. Because the agent works for and on his behalf. So therefore, you have to be clear when you are dealing with show cause notices and there are supplier agent issues. You have to go back to subsection 85, section 2. What is the meaning of supplier? तो बोलेगा जिस तरह माल आपको दिया ही नहीं, how can you take the tax invoice? अब उनमें क्या agreement हमें नहीं पता. But then you should know that the supplier can also mean his agent who is acting on his behalf. On his behalf. So basically, वो क्या बोलते हैं? Forwarding agents, C&F agent क्या? C&F agents. Agents are of many types. Commission, Del trader, C&F, authorized agents, authorized distributors, so many people. But here they are including one category, an agent who acts on behalf of the supplier in relation to your purchase order. That is lubricants. That's why the word in relation to is used. Okay. So let's go back to section 67. We'll keep touching 83 in this. Rule 138B, C 3941, form -1 5. We are not discussing form, discussing law only. Yesterday we had touched it. Today we'll try to complete the key sections of this particular provision, where the proper officer not belong to the rank of Joint Commissioner has reason to believe. So when does section 60 get invoked? Where an officer not below the rank of joint officer has reason to believe. An assistant commissioner cannot have reason to believe. If an assistant commissioner puts up a report to joint commissioner and he signs, section 67 is illegally invoked. The proper officer for the purpose of section 67(1) is an officer not below the rank of joint officer, joint commissioner. He has to form the opinion. That is, even if the assistant commissioner puts up a report, he still has to write his opinion. I am also of the opinion what is written is correct. Then becomes his opinion. He will also, based on some survey, something must have happened, he will believe in it. A taxable person, so a taxable person is who is registered or required to be registered is a taxable person, has suppressed any transaction relating to supply section 7 of goods or services of both, or the stock of goods in hand. Now the stocks of goods in hand, many people ask कि stock variation था कि जी किताबों में 10 लाख का था, physically 4 लाख का था. That is, you have suppressed the stock in hand by 6 lakh rupees. So section 67 can be invoked. So when you read word or in suppress the supply of goods services or stock in hand, it means a stock variation becomes a part of section 67. So as professionals, you should know. If I'll tell you later how to do about it. Or has claimed input as credit in excess of his entitlement under this act. It is only for the purpose of section 67, not for the purpose of 129 or 30. 129 में वहां भी डिटेंशन है, सब कुछ है, वहां इस तरह के प्रोविजन नहीं है. अगर आपका इन ट्रांजिट ट्रक पकड़ता है, that fellow cannot go there, input as credit गलत है, because there is no such power given to him under section 129. So 67, 129, 130 are almost collude together on the basic issue, but here the provision is totally different. It is search and seizure. Yes. किसमें? किस पे लिखा तो है? Has suppressed पहले ही है. बाद में पर्सनल केसेस आज नहीं, बाद में करेंगे इसको खत्म कर लें, then you raise your question later. Or has claimed input as credit in relation of entitlement, or has indulged in contravention of any of the provisions of the act or the rule neither under to evade tax under this act. So this suppression of sales, purchase of goods or services, or claiming wrong input as credit, or contravention of any rules or provisions of the act, to do what? With an intent to evade tax. That is a precondition before the joint commissioner can form the opinion to invoke section 67. अगर उसकी रिपोर्ट में नहीं लिखा intent to evade tax, then section 67 is not applicable. What you have to do, you have to go to High Court or whatever, that's a legal remedy, what all we follow. But if you go to High Court, this will be quashed in a minute. Because if he doesn't think there is a way to tax, so where is the question of section 67? Right? Now, how does he say it's a way to tax? Suppose you get a show cause notice after reading 67 कि आपका ये प्रॉब्लम है, इसके बाद शो कॉज नोटिस आपको आएगा. अब वो कहते हैं जी आपके स्टॉक में 4 लाख का फर्क था, अब आपने उसको 4 लाख का फर्क बता दिया, ये 4 लाख का ये था, यहां पड़ा है, ये उसकी कंफर्मेशन है. Can you say there was an evasion of tax? At that particular time you could not reply because you were not there or whatever may happen. But whenever such variations happen, immediately put a letter on record to them. We should be given time to explain this tomorrow. But if you accept it as it is, or in a panic deposit tax all over, because there is no order required to be passed like 129(5). It doesn't require an order to be passed by them. It is out of your sweet will, you agree to deposit tax to buy peace. If you buy piece, this is enough. It's all over. So if you think there is no stock variation, your client doesn't indulge into any such activities, you should immediately put an objection on record. जो आपने रिकॉर्ड बनाया है, जो हमारा रिकॉर्ड है, इसमें कहीं गलती है, we shall reconcile and come back to you within 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Please give us time. They do give time. But if you do not put an objection, then this reply you cannot take in reply to show cause notice. And then you will be completely shut because you did not take the objection when you should have taken. Right? Similarly, the point of jurisdiction. Supposing you ask them to show the papers, INS form signed by Joint Commissioner, they don't show you. Don't panic. Put in record. You have no jurisdiction since you did not produce any authorization letter signed by an officer not below the rank of Joint Commissioner. Therefore, you have no jurisdiction. Let them do what you have to do. Don't fight. But put this on record. तो ये आपको अपने क्लाइंट को हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, हमने उनको 8-10 लेटर बना के दे रखी है, जो मैं थोड़ा बहुत काम करता हूँ, लेटर बना के दे दी कि ये होता है, आप कंप्यूटर से निकालो, लेटर साइन करके दे दो. So expand the scope of your work. If you're dealing with corporate clients, tell them we'll make an online system for you. कि आपके GST रेट करना है, आपके आग लगती है तो क्या करना है, आपके चोरी होती है तो आपको क्या करना है. Very simple letters, but it is a great help to corporate clients who can circulate in all their branches. ये होता है तो नहीं होता है, ये आइटम को साइन करके दे दो, बस और कुछ नहीं करना. Right? Number 2, or the word is or. Subclause B, any person. Now there is no taxable person. Now there is any person. Any person engaged in the business of transporting goods, or an owner or operator of the warehouse or a godown or any other place is keeping goods. So this is basically storage of goods in any form, which have escaped payment of tax or has kept his accounts or goods in such a manner as is likely to cause evasion of tax payable under this act. Clause A said they are under to evade payment of tax. Subclause B changes the phrase, is likely to cause evasion of tax. That is, this is pure presumption. अब जितने ड्राई फ्रूट वाले नंबर 2 का काम करते हैं, ये वहां कनाल के बॉर्डर पे कोर्ट से माल रखते हैं, कुंडली के बॉर्डर में. Right? Now supposing a joint commissioner goes and raids that cold storage. वो कहता बता भी ये 1 टन बादाम पड़ा किसका है? कहता जी हमने तो रसीद इशू कर रखी है, ये अभिषेक राजाराम ने रखा है, स्टोर किया है. Enough? They ring up their officer, go and check his books. It's not there. So now who is responsible? Now supposing he says कि मेरा तो नहीं है जी, मैंने तो नहीं रखा, झूठी है बच्ची, मैंने तो कोई पैसे नहीं दिए इसको. He will say that. Then the owner of godown becomes responsible for it, because now this is likely to cause evasion of tax. Therefore, he'll be covered in subclause B. You get my point? Now let's take another example. Business of transporting goods. You are a transporter who collects all the parcels and dispatches the material. Truck is caught on the way. जैसे लगाइए पार्सल किस किसके हैं, सबकी एलआर अलग अलग होनी है, एक एलआर तो हो नहीं सकती. अब वो देखते हैं सारी एलआर 8, 10, 15, 20, कहते हैं कौन है, इनके जीएसटी नंबर कहाँ है, कहते हैं वो तो दिए नहीं उन्होंने हमारे को. कौन है ये बंदे, इनका फोन नंबर है आपके पास? हाँ जी. वो फोन करते हैं जी, हाँ जी क्या है, कहते नहीं जी हमने तो कोई माल नहीं भेजा इनके साथ. उनको पता चोरी पकड़ी गया, बोले हमने तो भेजा नहीं. So then therefore they have included transporter also. Buddy, now you pay tax. Now once this happens in transit, they will invoke section 129. सच के साथ आपको 129 आपका ट्रक डिटेन कर लेंगे. और कोई चारा नहीं है, क्या करेगा? अब वो थोड़े झगड़ा पड़ेंगे, आपका प्राइवेट झगड़ा क्या है. There was a case we will discuss today, the Poonam Mehta case, very famous case under GST. उसने किसी को बिल्डिंग किराए पे दी, उसका झगड़ा हो गया जी, आया वो बिल्डिंग डिटेन कर गए, सीज कर गए. अब वो गई कमिश्नर के पास, ही बिल्डिंग तो मेरी है, मैं तो किराए पे दी है. Now High Court says this is your private dispute between you and your tenant. Go to court. They cannot release your building. We will discuss this case today. No hardship. This is the law. Doesn't matter. We are talking of a detention order. वो क्या चोरी कर रहा था अभी से भोगा होगा यार, वो तो अंडरस्टूड है.
Agree, but physically stealing the immovable property, he has so many cases where stealing of office is not legal, permissible. So इसमें भी तो यही हुआ.
But the High Court, no? That's the story of grass is green or grass is blue. So now you keep arguing, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. You'll be punished. Now the question is, Abhishek is not a question of which High Court says something or different. It's a question of for us as professionals to appreciate what can be done. तो उस केस में आपको वो, if you know this law, आपको अपने जो क्लाइंट आता है उसको प्रिकॉशन लेने को आपको बोलना है. उसको बोलना है भी ये भी हो सकता है. If you give on rent, tomorrow this is possible. कौन सी एनओसी? एनओसी तुम्हारे सारे 100 में से 90 फेक होते. हमने दिल्ली सेल टैक्स में बड़े केस किए हैं जो फेक एनओसी के. एक बंगला साहब के सामने गुरुद्वारा है, पेट्रोल पंप है. इनके दो भाई हैं ये. एक का बंगलो रोड पे, एक यहाँ पर है. वहां सारा फेकिज्म था. वो केस मैंने किए थे ट्रिब्यूनल में. उन्होंने जो भारत पेट्रोलियम वाला लाइसेंस था उसको फेक कर दिया था. पेट्रोल पंप था ना, बड़ा पैसा था. तो दुनिया फेकिज्म पर है.
आप उनको लेटर देते हैं, क्या वो लेंगे?
क्यों नहीं लेंगे? Otherwise, shut the door. Do whatever you can. That's a decision you have to take at that time. पहली बात ऐसा होता नहीं, होता भी है कभी ऐसा.
नहीं लेते, कई बार नहीं लेते.
Then you tell them, sorry sir, you can't enter. Do whatever you can. They have to call the police. They can't enter you physically. They have to call the police. जो आरडीडी में हुआ, पुलिस पहले आई थी, बाद बंदे लोग में बाद में आए थे. पुलिस वाले बोले सर ये अपने क्लाइंट को इक्विप करके रखो ताकि तुम्हारा समय बर्बाद ना और पैसे आपको मिले. सब पढ़ते हैं.
आपका एफआईआर लॉन्च हो जाएगा.
जो भी होगा वो नहीं करेंगे. आप बोलो जी आपके पास अथॉरिटी नहीं है, लाइए तो लाइए. वो वहां खड़े रहेंगे, हो सकता है लेके आए. बाहर खड़े रहेंगे, वो आपके अंदर नहीं घुसेंगे. 50 लाख की कॉस्ट भी लग सकती है कल को.
होता है ऐसा भी होता है, हुआ है.
They will keep standing out and they get the authorization.
हमने वैट में ऐसा भी देखा है.
L&T case. L&T case.
We opposed them.
L&T case. Yes, Rahul wanted to say something.
They remained there till they got the permission, fresh permission from the commissioner itself, and then they proceeded. Though their entire procedure was wrong, we had arranged it in the High Court. It was what?
A very interesting case happened recently. There is a Mercedes dealership in NCR which has two branches, one in Delhi, one in UP.
TNT Motors.
Silver Arrow.
Okay, Silver Arrow. I work for TNT Motors. Huh?
So, state of UP has a SIV ring, and SIV also has their assistant commissioner, joint commissioner. So the joint commissioner went to Silver Arrows to inspect because they found that there was some stock mismatch. Now in that dealership, usually how these luxury car dealerships operates, they have their stock of spare parts, accessories, and then of course the main vehicle. The main vehicle, because as they are very expensive, they are luxury products. So usually all the cars are not demo cars, or mostly are depending how the models of friendly work. So when they went, they saw that there were around 38 cars in their stock, which was showing the UP branch. But physically there were only 28. They said that means they are sold and you have not paid.
Okay.
Even though in any kind of an automotive forum, this is not possible, practical. But yes, as per legal papers, yes it is. So what they do, normally they transfer their, suppose if some customer says, I want to come to you, I am staying in Gurgaon, I want to buy from your dealership, but I will come to your Delhi store, which is in Samrat Hotel. So they send the car immediately there. Now when they do this kind of transfer exchange, mostly dealers were doing it, specifically our clients, because he became our client later. So they don't issue any kind of a delivery challan or any kind of an e-way bill. Now there are two gaps in this. Firstly, they don't transport this, goods by any kind of means of transport. They take it their own self. Now, when the stock, it is not a demo car, it does not have any number. There cannot be any e-way bill which can be generated because there is no number. E-way bill mandatory condition is there has to be some, yes, sir, there has to be some vehicle number. It tracks from your RT. Now there is no, but they ship it just like that. You know, they take the car and they take it. Right. Now when they put a tax penalty and interest of 4.5 crore rupees tax evasion. Within hours, all the goods were produced, but SIB was not convinced to accept because they said now we have signed it. This is how the equation works. So if you have any automotive dealers, now you see there is no tax evasion done, but still there is the equation like this. Now adding further, same SIB did another issue with one of our other clients. It's a very big organization, almost 10,000 crores today. They have a system of building maintenance. So they procure all the goods from any kind of their suppliers. So it is built to ship to. So they bill it to them and ship it to their client side. Suppose maintaining this building, they'll ship it here. Now the supplier by mistake, a particular supplier by mistake in almost 83 invoices, what they did, when you have to check the bill to ship to, when you are issuing, supplier was only issuing the e-way bill. It by default takes your principal place of business, which is PPOB. If you want to do APOB, then you have to override. You have to, delete that address and manually write the ship to address. Now that address was not mentioned. They inspected the SIB team went with the body cam and everything. Everything was noticed, and it was work from home timings. It was a COVID era, even though usually authorities were not going very strong in that time, but they went. And they saw the office was closed, nothing was there. They got it opened. There was some table chair inside, but nothing operated. No computers. So what they did, they sent straight away blocked their ITC of crores of rupees, and they had given that SIB report to the deputy commissioner, and they blocked the ITC, which was maybe 100 times more than the what amount they are trying to penalize. Now, client was very sure that there is no gap because it's a tax compliant organization. There was no. Then we went there and understood that what is the issue. Are you going by 86A? Are you going by which route? Because they had not issued any notice so far, but they had just blocked the ITC without issuing any notice. We had a ground. So, sir, what we got to know was that there was a gap of 4 crore rupees in their e-way bill, which even company could not get understand because when we as an auditor do audit, when we charge amount, they say why you are charging because we track e-way bills with your invoices also, which normally most of the auditors don't do. No disrespect to anybody, but normally they don't do. And not a lot of even big organizations don't do. So when we found, SIB told us that this is the gap that your principal place of business is only registered as the office, a normal office. It is not registered as your godown. And when we went there was no stock. So where is the stock? Because the bill to ship to APOBs at the client side is not registered. It is just for in the maintenance organization. It is not their office. It is not registered. Now see, the client was very, very confident when we got the download. There is no evasion. There is no difference. There is nothing. We have been audited. Our stat auditors have done everything in that. Still there was a gap. But yes, the situation was that they blocked their entire ITC. So it's just a learning curve that, in the first instance, SIB was wrong. In the second instance, the client was wrong. Wherein knowing the facts was also a very big task.
The lesson from this story is one line answered in GST. Nothing can move from your godown or principal business without a document. Full stop. Right? This car business is a serious business. He knows 20% of the story. I've been dealing with dealers for the last 20 years. When you sell car to leasing companies take time before the cars are registered because of bank loans. There is a gap of 1 to 2 months before the leasing companies get the car registered. And a car is never deemed to have been sold till it's registered with the RTO. Your ownership is never transferred. When shall a car owner become liable for insurance? When the car is in his name. As long as the car remains in a dealer's or a company's name, it is never deemed to have been sold. There is a case of in some northeastern state, I don't remember the case. Case went to Supreme Court in VAT matters. It says no entry tax matter. This is no entry tax. Car is never sold. So your entries when you sell the car, pay entry tax. Car is not sold. So the idea is that whenever this Section 67 things happen, first thing your client should be told. I told you yesterday, cash, stocks, books. He has to be up to date. GST requires an online accounting. You cannot say ईला करके हमारी किताबें बड़ी वो बनाती हैं वो कह रही मैं तो उड़ीसा में तो हूँ नहीं यहाँ. The time the story is over. See, these tax cases are much more serious than sales tax regime. वहाँ फॉर्म पे माल बेचते थे, आपको टैक्स चार्ज नहीं करना होता था. It's a value addition at every level. Therefore, your clients have to, when they come in the morning, they should know what is the stock in hand they have. What was their last purchase? Who are their suppliers? E-way bill, definitely. E-way bill, if you don't reconcile, you will be in trouble. Because E-way bill was introduced only for this person, this reason, e-invoicing and E-way bill, so that your numbers are caught on the computer. So there you cannot goof up. But if you have goofed up, now there are issues. You can issue credit note, debit notes. Price ज़्यादा लगा दिया, credit note issue कर दो. You can explain, but do it online immediately. Don't wait. ये सितंबर तक कर लेंगे. सीए बोला है सर वर्मा जी को बस सितंबर में कर लेंगे. बीच में कुछ होगा तो क्या करेंगे आप? Exchange an email with your client. Email is the document. Email exchange करो भाई ये प्राइस लगा 10 रुपए का 15 रुपए का था. अब उस 5 रुपए का आप ई-वे बिल जनरेट नहीं कर सकते. Once you have dispatched the goods for 10 lakh rupees, it was supposed to be 15 lakh rupees. E-way bill cannot be changed again. Now you are not physically moving goods. But in the tax invoice, when you write about when credit note, write good dispatched white e-way bill number so and so, email sent to the client on this date, copy annexed. Her document should be self-explanatory. Once you have a document that requires an interpretation, that